The spring equinox is Wednesday. 7 things to know about the first day of spring. A brief, scientific guide to the first day of spring. The vernal equinox is upon us on Wednesday, March 20th. Both the northern and southern hemispheres will experience an equal amount of daylight. For those of us technically speaking, the equinox occurs when the sun is directly in line with the equator. This will on Wednesday. Below is a short scientific guide to the most equal night of the year. The equinox, the seasons, and the changing length of daylight hours throughout the year are all due to one fact: the Earth spins on a tilted axis. The tilt U, possibly by a massive object hitting Earth billions of years ago, U means that for half the year, the North Pole is pointed toward the Sun, as in the picture below. For the other half, here's a time-lapse demonstration of the phenomenon shot over the course of a whole year from space. In the video, and here's yet another cool way to visualize the seasons. In 2013, this is a 6-month pinhole photo taken from solstice to solstice, in Medicine Hat, Alberta, Canada. We are one of the sun. You can easily make a similar image at home. All you need is a kit. Equinox literally means equal night. And during the equinox, but not every place will experience the exact same amount of daylight. For instance, that daylight is longer than 12 hours on the equinox is also due to how we commonly measure the length of a day, from the first hint of the sun peeking over the horizon in the morning to the very last glimpse of it before it falls below the horizon in the evening. Because the sun check out to see how many hours of sunlight you'll get during the equinox. In the summer months, the northernmost latitudes get a lot of daylight. Above the Arctics, so does this mean the number of daylight hours you in total, over the course of the year, you equal out to places where the seasonal difference is less extreme? The answer to this question is somewhat surprising. Roughly speaking, everywhere on Earth hours every year. But the equator, as astronomer for Sky and Telescope magazine, sunlight at the poles gets refracted more than sunlight at the equator. That refracting and, of course, this is how much sunlight these areas could potentially receive if the weather were always perfectly clear. It's not how much. Perhaps you were told as a child that on the equinox, it's easier to balance an egg vertically on a flat surface than on other days of the year. The practice originated in China as a tradition on the first day of spring in the Chinese lunar calendar in early February. According to the amount of sunlight during the winter and summer solstices, crowds flock to Stonehenge in the United Kingdom. During the solstice, that's because on the equinox, on the Yucatan Peninsula puts on a wondrous show. Built by the Mayans, this is easier to see in a video. Check it out below. Yes. All the planets in the below, see a beautiful composite image of Saturn on its equinox captured by the Cassini spacecraft in 2009. The gas giant, during Saturn's equinox, its rings become unusually dark. That's because the image above by NASA's Solar Dynamics Observatory, a spacecraft launched in 2010 to better understand the Sun. This past summer, NASA launched a spacecraft that will come within 4 million miles of the surface of the Sun, much closer than any spacecraft has been before. The goal is to study. It's essential to understand the Sun. It's nothing to mess with. For box about, search for location/city.
Raindrop, drop top smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park pot.